Well, it's been another day of accusations, revelations and investigations for the Prime Minister. And now tonight, we have reports that a birthday party was thrown for him in the Cabinet Room during the first lockdown in June of 2020. It comes after Mr Johnson ordered a Cabinet Office inquiry into allegations that Nusrat Ghani was fired from her job as a minister over her Muslim faith. Two Cabinet Ministers, the Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, and the Education Secretary, Adhim Zahawi, had both called for a proper investigation over the weekend. Meanwhile, Sue Gray's investigations into Downing Street parties during lockdown continues. Dominic Cummings, the Prime Minister's former top political aide, has submitted evidence today. He has already publicly claimed that Boris Johnson misled Parliament when he said, quote, he thought the Downing Street drinks party was a work event. Also today, senior Conservative MP William Wragg has met police to give evidence over allegations that Tory whips have been blackmailing MPs to dissuade them from pushing for a vote of no confidence in the Prime Minister. So quite a day. I'm joined now by Albie Amankona from Conservatives Against Racism for Equality and former Conservative Special Advisor Mo Hussein. Albie and Mo, thank you so much for talking to us tonight. Let's begin with these latest allegations. Albie, your take?
On the allegations about the Article 10?
Yes, the latest from ITV News. Yep.
Yes. Well, I was pretty surprised again to hear yet more party allegations coming out, having happened at Number 10. But I think it's really important, actually, rather than relying on media hearsay, that we wait until the findings of the Sue Gray report, which of course will be coming out at some point later on this week. That is, of course, unless the news which has come out today delays that report and it's pushed into next week. But my guess would be that the findings won't be reported until after Prime Minister's questions. So I would expect maybe Thursday or Friday.
Mo Hussein, what do you think?
I think these are pretty damaging revelations, and they add to the drip that we've seen all along. The longer this report is left, and I do feel for Sue Gray because she's probably now having to rewrite elements of it, because I imagine she's learning things from the media as well and from the trip of revelations that we see constantly. But the longer these are left, there's more scope for other things to come out, which is particularly damaging to the Prime Minister. And I just think something like this, if you look at the response from Number 10, there's not really an attempt to even suggest this was within the rules as they have done previously, but it's more trying to normalize it. It was just 10 minutes. But I think there's a lot of people who can probably think of something they would have liked to have done, even if it was for 10 minutes, seeing friends, seeing family, having people over, but they didn't do that. So I do think this is quite damaging and adds to the atmosphere of precariousness that surrounds the Prime Minister this week.
I mean, do you think there will be more allegations, Albie?
I think it's quite possible that more allegations could come out. If you'd have asked me this question last week, I would have had the same answer. I think it really is the story that just keeps on rolling on and on and on, which is why it's so important that the Sue Gray report comes out later this week, so we can establish the fact of the situation. The Prime Minister can respond, and then it's up to MPs to decide what they do from then. But I think it's really important that we wait for that report to come out before we speculate any further. But I do think, it's possible there could have been more rule breaking going on at Number 10. I don't know whether or not that's the truth. We'll have to wait and find out what the report says.
Mo, I saw you sighing.
Well, I just think this is a holding pattern that we've just had for so long now. The report will only be as good as the content that people give Sue Gray. If people are not telling her everything and we are seeing more and more revelations, then the report is only worth so much. And the real question is what happens after the report in terms of the action. This shouldn't just be an inquiry that gathers dust on a shelf. It should lead to real change and real actions. And there's also the risk, actually, even once the report is done, more revelations could still come out. That's what Dominic Cummings seems to have suggested today. So I just don't think this is going away. And I don't think a report will necessarily draw a line under it at all.
OK, well, let's talk about the Cabinet Office inquiry into Nusrat Ghani's allegations. Albie, what do you make of those?
I mean, I was appalled when I heard the allegations when they came out on Saturday night in that Times article. because there's no place for racism and discrimination in the Conservative Party. And I'm really sad that Nuz felt that she had to resort to this. I think it's also worth noting that Mark Spencer has denied these allegations and he's called them defamatory, which is why it's absolutely right that the Prime Minister has ordered this Cabinet Office review and inquiry into what's happened so we can establish the facts, get to the bottom of things and find a positive way forward.
Mo, what do you think? I mean, how many inquiries, how many reports can we have? What happened to the Singh report? That was quietly shelved, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Singh report came back and it did say that it didn't think it was institutionalized within the Conservative Party, but there were certainly cases of Islamophobia, whether at local association level, at grassroots level, and interestingly, that the complaints procedure wasn't quite fit for purpose. The party did say they would take forward all of those recommendations, but just having a report doesn't mean job done. It's really the action that follows the report. And I just think you can get lost in inquiries, lost in process, lost in procedure. Somebody who has experienced discrimination does not really need a process or report to tell them what they've been through, but they do need to see a change. So I was quite depressed when I saw this. I've worked with Nuz briefly at the Home Office when I was a special advisor there. I was quite proud that she was the first Muslim female minister to address the House of Commons from the dispatch box. I think that's something the Conservative Party should be really proud of. And the fact that we have the most diverse cabinet in our country's history, another good thing. But all of this can become undone very quickly if these kinds of things are not gripped and are not dealt with as soon as they are reported. And whilst I welcome the investigation, it's just a shame that it didn't happen 2 years ago when she initially raised these issues.
Albie, do you have concerns about that? That if there is another investigation, that as we've seen before, nothing comes of it?
I'm always concerned that reports just get put on the shelf and then quietly shelved or quietly forgotten about. I mean, that didn't happen with the Singh investigation. Of course, I believe the recommendation is going to be acted on, I think, by July this year. But in terms of this inquiry into what Nuz Ghani has alleged she's been through, I think we'll just have to wait and see what it finds, because it is really important that we also recognise that Mark Spencer has said that it's not true and he's called them defamatory, which is why it is really important that the report happens so we can get to the bottom of this, figure out what's gone wrong and then put in place the measures to make sure that nothing like this ever happens again.
OK, Albie and Mo, thank you so much.